Red Dead Redemption 2 is an unprecedented technical achievement. The open world is astonishing, intricately detailed, and a faithful recreation of turn-of-the-century America. But with that being said, Red Dead's United States is weird. Following the trend Rockstar had established with the GTA franchise, Red Dead uses its own original names for states, cities, and landmarks. However, unlike GTA, which takes place in a completely fictionalized United States, Red Dead's world is an amalgamation of fictional and real-life historical locations. So you'll see references to places like New York or San Francisco, but another major city like New Orleans has been switched out for Saint Denis. With that being said, how on earth would RDR2's map even fit into the real-life United States? It's got 5 additional states. Which in-game landmarks are real locations? Are the states' environments accurate to their real-life counterparts? Do the states even have definitive real-life counterparts? My video covering the real-life inspiration behind every town in the game did crazy numbers, so I'd be a fool to not also make a video about the geographical and historical inspiration behind every state in Red Dead Redemption 2. With that, let's get into it. The real-life geography behind Red Dead Redemption 2. Okay, I'll start at the very top of the map and then we can move down. So that means first we'll venture into the frozen wilderness of Amberino. The name Amberino is a clue in itself. Amberino means amber in Spanish, a clear nod to Colorado, which is Spanish for colored red. Amberino's in-game mountain range, the Grizzlies, are inspired by the real-life Rockies. The Rocky Mountains stretch all the way from Canada to New Mexico, but it's specifically Wyoming's Grand Teton Range that most resemble the game. The western Grizzlies always reminded me of the Arapahoe National Forest in Colorado, whereas the east Grizzlies look more like the Black Hills of South Dakota. And as for Katora Springs, it's safe to say that's RDR2's reference to Yellowstone National Park. The largest waterfall in the game, Donner Falls, likely takes its name from the infamous Donner Party, a group of American pioneers headed out to California that were trapped by heavy snowfall in the mountains and resorted to cannibalism to survive. Visually, I struggled to find a definitive real-world counterpart for this one. Initially I thought of Niagara Falls, but I think it more closely resembles the various falls surrounding Lake Tahoe in California. Three Sisters are a formation of 3 striking mountain peaks, and likely take their name from the real-life Three Sisters in Oregon. Lake Isabella is the largest body of water in Amberino and could be a compressed version of the real-life Flathead Lake in Montana, as both have similar shapes and surrounding environments. Towering over Lake Isabella is Mount Hagen, which, like the rest of the West Grizzlies, represents the Grand Teton Range of the Rocky Mountains. I'm not so sure about one mountain in particular, however. Next up, the state of New Hanover. Taking inspiration from states like Oklahoma and Kansas, the Heartlands region of New Hanover is notable for its scenic rolling hills and lush open plains. Here you'll find Twin Stacks Pass, a striking rock formation likely based on Scotts Bluff in Nebraska. As you head east, New Hanover's environment transitions into deep forest and rugged mountainous terrain. This region is known as Roanoke Ridge, taking clear inspiration from the real-life Ozark Mountains of Arkansas. New Hanover has 2 major rivers, the Dakota River in the west and the Commessaw River in the east, representing the real-life Missouri and Wichita rivers respectively. Up in the north of the state is Cumberland Forest, similar to the Pike Nation Forest in Colorado or the Black Hills of South Dakota that were mentioned earlier. Cumberland Forest does border the East Grizzlies after all. Just outside Valentine is Citadel Rock, Rockstar's smaller version of the real-life Citadel Rock in Montana. I was intrigued by Heartland Overflow, a small lagoon that appears to seep from the ground. This could be referencing the Ogalla Aquifer, an enormous underground body of water stretching from South Dakota to New Mexico, supplying drinking water to approximately 2.3 million people in the Great Plains. Next, let's cover West Elizabeth. This state pulls influence from all over the American West, but most notably Texas, Colorado, and California. The northernmost region of the state, Big Valley, might be the most stunning location in the game. I'm always reminded of the Prospector's Valley from the Ballad of Buster Scruggs. But it's pretty safe to say that Big Valley's real-world inspiration is the ever-iconic Yosemite Valley, California. Southwest of Big Valley is Tall Trees, most likely standing in for the real Big Trees, California. There you'll find the tallest trees on the planet, with most California redwoods growing to a staggering 300 feet. The tallest redwood in the world, Hyperion, stands at 380 feet. For context, that towers over the Statue of Liberty. The Great Plains region of southern West Elizabeth, especially surrounding Blackwater, looks just like Texas, but some other potential inspirations are the Great Plains of Colorado or the Carrizo Plains in California. The map's tallest mountain, Mount Shan, appears to be modeled off of the real-life Mount Elbert, the highest peak in Colorado. Next, I feel like I should talk about Flatiron Lake. This is where things get especially messy with the geography because just beyond this lake is Mexico. So, for all intents and purposes, Flatiron Lake functions as the Gulf of Mexico. But of course, the Gulf of Mexico is an extension of the Atlantic Ocean, not a freshwater lake. So honestly, it's really best not to think that much of it. Okay, let's follow the map's other major body of water, the Lannahechee River, down south to the next state. Lemoyne is the game's answer to the Deep South, specifically the state of Louisiana, while the surrounding Lannahechee functions as Red Dead's Mississippi River. Scarlet Meadows, with its characteristic Georgia red clay and blistering hot pastures, represents southern states like Georgia, Alabama, and Mississippi, or Dixie as the region was known at the time. But moving deeper south, the landscape transitions from open fields and scenic plantations to a sprawling swampy bayou. Creeping Spanish moss hangs from the trees as gators lurk in the murky water. This, of course, is an imitation of Louisiana's own bayou. The outer fringes of the Lemoyne Bayou, a region called Blue Water Marsh, looks just like Louisiana's Atchafalaya Basin. And of course, the swamp leads us into Saint Denis, this game's version of New Orleans. I think it's safe to say, out of all the states in the game, Lemoyne is the only one that we can definitively assign a real-world counterpart, and that's Louisiana. I mean, it does incorporate aspects from the Greater South as a whole, but come on, this is clearly supposed to be Louisiana. I'm curious, though, because with Saint Denis, I guess that means there's not a New Orleans in this universe, and not a Louisiana, and that makes me wonder what other cities and states in Red Dead have been completely replaced and which ones have stayed. Like, I know we have Chicago, New York, LA, but is there, say, Atlanta, Milwaukee, or Denver or something? Like, does Colorado even exist if there's Amberino? Is Red Dead's United States even the same shape as our own? It can't possibly be. Whatever, none of this really matters anyway. Let's head west and cover our final state, New Austin. Right off the bat, the name is a pretty clear nod to Austin, Texas, and you can see a lot of Texas in New Austin, but mainly the state draws from the greater Mojave and Sonoran deserts, and I find its landscape more akin to Arizona and New Mexico. The lower Montana River that separates West Elizabeth from New Austin stands in for the real-life Pecos River, and crossing that takes you into the region of Hennigan's Stead, which seems like this game's answer to the Oak Hills of central Texas. Moving over to Cholla Springs, now we're really getting into that classic Wild West arid desert. Cholla Springs resembles the Sonoran Desert, while its neighboring Gaptooth Ridge, with its Joshua trees and rocky landscape, looks more like the Mojave Desert. The San Luis River, which borders Mexico, is the Rio Grande, or Rio Bravo as it's referred to in the United States, likely the inspiration behind the region of Rio Bravo in the game, which sits along this river and closely resembles the Chihuahua Desert, which in real life is right next to the Rio Bravo. Finally, on the very, very southwestern edge of the map, I believe that the Sea of Coronado represents the lower Colorado River, perhaps specifically Lake Havasu? Havasu? I don't know. Whatever. That's going to be it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments which videos you'd like to see, and don't forget to join the channel's Discord. Link will be in the description below. Alright, cowpokes, y'all have a good one.